Okay, welcome to Assets and Algorithms, the show where we explore the intersection of real estate and technology. Today, I have Josh Glasser here with me today from Qwesty. I appreciate you joining.
Thanks, Eric, for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you're doing some amazing things with Qwesty, and I'd love to dive into that right now. I'm really excited about this conversation. I want you to share a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture.
Yeah, so again, I'm Josh Glasser. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Qwesty. Let me actually start by asking you a question.
Huh?
Have you ever sold a property before?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do you remember, did you work with a broker?
So I was a broker at the time, so
Okay, so you're your own
yeah,
broker. So you didn't
right,
have to
right.
pay the commission.
No, no, I didn't.
Right. Do you remember what that commission would have been?
That commission would have been around $20,000.
Okay. What if I told you you could have kept that $20,000 yourself?
That I'm pretty sure would be very interesting. I would be very interested in that.
I'm sure you wish you still had it in your pocket. But look, you're not alone because 90% of transactions today are being done with that traditional agent broker model. So what we've done at Qwesty is we've actually built technology and a
Mhm.
platform that's going to replace the broker. So there's no commissions, there's no hassle, and you'll actually be able to transact real estate from start to close using our app.
Mm.
Does that sound pretty cool?
That does sound pretty good, man. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. So look, last year in 2024, there was over $200 billion paid in commissions. So
Mm.
just imagine, putting all that money back into the pockets of the people. And that's really what Qwesty stands for. Another very big benefit to Qwesty is this is all being done in a transparent ecosystem, which this stuff really excites me because everybody's beholden to everybody else. And look, I'm a broker myself, right? So I went through real estate school, and of course, the first thing they taught me was, hey, keep everybody at arm's length. You have the buyers and sellers, and you have the broker right in the middle, and that's all done for a reason. There's this ambiguity between what a broker is actually doing. So what we've done is we built software that basically combines the freedom of the for sale by owner model,
Mm.
those little red signs you see in the backyards, that along with all the tools that can basically replace the broker. And the way we
Mm.
built software is it's going to outperform even the best brokers at every single level. So it's big game changing stuff. It's all backed by Web3 AI technology. We've been at it for about 3 years now, and we just finished our prototype. We're real excited about it. We are
Mm.
working with a company that they've done a tremendous job. We tried working with freelancers, didn't quite work. So we actually found our partner and our builders, and it's just been amazing. I mean, the team that we're working with, they're actually the inventors of Fitbit. They did Burger King's app, they did Mercedes-Benz app, and they typically don't work with startups, but we've gelled and they love what we're doing, and they're kind of on this crazy ride with us.
Sounds awesome, Josh. I appreciate you sharing that. It sounds like Qwesty is really doing something revolutionary, right? When you talk about using Web3 to disrupt the real estate industry and the traditional model of how brokers interact with buyers and sellers and how buyers and sellers interact with each other, right? It sounds amazing. I want you to talk a little bit about the mission, right? Promoting
Sure.
transparency, enhancing efficiency in these property transactions.
Great questions. Everybody is beholden to everybody else. What I love about this is, yes, it's a peer-to-peer model. Think of it like this: what Amazon did to retail is exactly what Qwesty is doing to real estate. Here we are disrupting this $4 trillion industry. And, by taking down those barriers, everybody is beholden to everybody. So what happens with Qwesty is as you're going through the transaction process, you're being matched with different professionals, anyone from a title company to a mortgage broker to an insurance agent, whatever that professional is. We have about 100 different categories, and you're basically inviting them to the deal along the way. So you're making sure that you're working with people that are pre-vetted, people that you want to work with, people you could be comfortable with. So what we've done is just going on this whole transparency issue, two things. One is everybody reviews everybody else. So let's say the seller can review the buyer and the buyer can review the seller. And let's say you hire a handyman, right? You're not just reviewing the handyman in turn is reviewing you. So it goes full circle, and everybody is responsible for everybody else. And it really keeps people in line, especially when you have this kind of open platform, which really is the future. It's been the future for so many industries. Again, it's not just Amazon. You look at Uber with transportation, you look at Lemonade with insurance, and all of these other industries have adopted this peer-to-peer model, except for real estate. And, it's been like that by design, right? But we're here to put a stop to that. So what I always tell people is, look, if you want to window shop, just go to Zillow. If you want to transact, come to Qwesty.
Listen, I love that. I think that's why we started having these conversations, right? Because real estate is traditionally an antiquated industry. We're still doing a lot of things the old ways, and technology is providing those solutions to so many other industries, and we're now starting to see that adoption come to real estate. So I love to hear about that, but also, like you said, you're disrupting a multi-billion trillion dollar industry, and you're building something that challenges the economics of it. So I'd love to hear about the shifts you've seen or what kind of reactions you've received from the industry veterans so far.
Yeah, so right now we're at the prototype stage. We just built our prototype. It's me and my business partner. We've been basically bootstrapping this. We do have a WeFunder campaign where we very quickly raised over 6 figures, which was exciting. It's been very well received, but we understand that there's a tall mountain to climb, and we're prepared to do it. So right now we're actually in the process of raising about 750 to 1.5. And what that's going to do is allow us to take our prototype and build a full-blown MVP from that.
Congratulations, man. That sounds amazing. You guys have, delivered a prototype and been able to raise funds and looking at raising more funds. It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to see, it in action, right? To see it really disrupt this industry and bring power back to the people.
And that's what it's all about, by the way. You're right. It's all about empowering people. And that's why we're doing this. As a broker myself, look, there's a disconnect, and it's been there for a long time. And most people wouldn't know this, but the MLS was actually invented in 1896, believe it or not. Go Google it if you don't believe me. I mean, I didn't believe it either. It's been around forever. Obviously, it's changed with technology and different things. Back in the 80s, people were using phone books, right? To find realtors. But it just amazes me with the technology that's out there and the lack of the use of this technology just to keep this industry where it is. It's time for a change. And look, the timing couldn't be any better. I'm sure your audience and yourself, you're familiar with all the new lawsuits that just happened. We just went through the biggest change since the MLS was invented just in the last 6 months. Now you can't even put a commission on your listing when you go to list in the MLS. So to me, it's almost like, if you're watching an apocalypse movie, there's always a story at the beginning, right? To me, this is like the first, kink in the armor, so to speak. I do believe we're heading in another direction with or without Qwesty. And by the way, agents can be inside Qwesty. They can be part of ProMatch. We're not looking to put agents out of business. I think there's some amazing agents out there. Again, we're not doing this to beat up agents. Myself, personally, I've worked with great agents. I've worked with terrible agents. But look, when you go to sell $1 million property, let me just put this in perspective. That's on average across the United States, a residential home sale. It's 5.23% commission. So on $1 million property, that's about $55,000. So if you're an agent or a broker, you could be the best in the world. You could be the nicest in the world. We only get paid for what we kill, meaning if it doesn't go to closing, we don't get compensated. So you can be looking at 100+ hours. I've worked on deals for 200 hours that we didn't even end up closing. Nothing to do with Josh. It just things happen on the other side, right?
Right.
There's a lot of unknown factors. So it's almost like human nature to stretch the truth. And I live it, I breathe it, I see it all the time. It's $55,000 here or nothing here. So again, not bad people, just human nature. And it puts the agent in that position, which is not even fair to the agent, let alone the buyer and the seller. Name another industry where the seller was paying the commission and they're actually negotiating against the other side. Doesn't exist. So it's
Right.
very interesting. It's been broken for a very long time. On top of that, of course, there's a transparency issue. There's also the hassle, the paperwork, all of these things that don't have to be confusing. We've created inside Qwesty, there's a portal where you could just very easily swipe your finger if you're using the app or click a button if you're using the website, and you can just invite people along the way. And
Mm.
again, these people are being matched with you because they passed our vetted process, meaning we want to be a watchdog for the system. So we're actually patenting an algorithm that actually keeps all of these professionals in line.
Listen, I love that. I think that's important to have system, or as you mentioned, an algorithm that not only brings these people and these professionals together, but holds them accountable so that
Yeah,
they
everybody's accountable to everybody else. And that's how it should be, just like in the real world.
absolutely.
If only social
Abs-
media can get that far.
I agree, man. I'd love to dive in a little bit more into, what's working well for you guys right now, and talk a little bit about what's been frustrating.
Yeah, look, whenever you start something new, and this is a very ambitious project, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, Surprisingly, I've been attending a lot of different types of events. We actually sponsored an event last night. It was called Women in AI down in Miami. Met some amazing people. And, we really haven't gotten any pushback other than this was great. Let me see the prototype. Okay, this is awesome. But look, when you're raising capital, it's not an easy task. This is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And, I came from running a very large marketing agency. I owned a large brokerage. So I've done a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I would say this is up there. But again, we're up for the challenge. And that's really where we are today. And look, in the next round, when we need real money, that's where I really think when we get over this hurdle, we're in a very, very strong position. We just have such an amazing team. I have a business partner. He's the COO, Nick Catalano. He's an engineer. We
Hmm.
complement ourselves very well because I'm more the extrovert. He's more the introvert. We have some amazing attorneys that we're working with that are all part of this company. We have a CFO. He's got the gray hair. He was actually a senior vice president of Ernst and Young for many, many years. And, we've been fortunate because we're only as good as our team. And we've been very fortunate between that and partnering with this company I mentioned earlier. There's tremendous potential. So I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Absolutely. It sounds like you have an amazing team over there, and I'm excited to see what you guys do and wishing you a ton of success. On that point, I'd like to hear you talked a little bit about positioning. Where do you see you guys positioning yourself in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, once we have this MVP done, I think the sky's the limit. I mean,
Mm.
we just made it such a no-brainer. And let me just put in perspective because the numbers are so massive. We're gonna charge only $99 a month to list your
Mhm.
property, and it's free to claim. So
Mhm.
you could just go and claim your property right now. You're probably already going to be in the system because on day one, we're going to have tens of thousands of properties already in the system. That's a big part of our go-to market strategy, right? So I'm excited for the future. I think it's going to be pretty incredible. And I'll leave you with one more thing. We have something, it's make me
Mm.
move type of program. We call it passive listings. So even if you claim your property for free, you can go today, go claim your property. A year from now, you're sitting there eating breakfast, your feet's up on the desk and you're just relaxing, you're chilling, you're feeling good. All of a sudden you get a message, someone's interested in purchasing your property, even though it's not even technically for sale. And you
Mm.
can start conversing with them and you don't even pay the $99 until you're using our transaction system. On the other end, and by the way, before I go to the next part, there's 6 million transactions that happened last year. So even if we just had 1%, that's $6 million right there. On the other side, with business professionals, these people, anything from a housekeeper all the way down to an attorney, to a title company, an interior designer, we have about 100 categories identified. And we're only going to charge them almost like a Prime membership, or it's only $199 a year.
Mm.
Look, as opposed to Angie's List, which you could spend thousands of dollars a month on, or if you want to pay per lead and it
Mm.
normally doesn't work out well, you can try something like a Thumbtack, Home Advisor, similar to Angie's List. What's interesting about this is you're not paying that 199 a year just to advertise. You're not doing that at all. People are looking for you. You're not looking for them. That's the beauty of this. They're going to invite you to the deal as they need you. And if you show up positive on our watchdog algorithm, you will get business. And again, you're only paying 199 a year. So we made it a no-brainer for businesses to join us as well.
Listen, the platform sounds really encompassing. Not only are you saving the buyers and sellers money on commissions and making it more efficient and transparent, you're also bringing in pros, right?
Yeah,
Qualified pros that are also able to interact with these buyers and sellers and get new business at a fraction of the cost. Being able to also make it so those professionals, along with those buyers and sellers, all are saving money, making more money, and benefiting from the ecosystem, right? And just making it
exactly.
easier, right? Which is
Yeah.
what technology is here to do
Think of
for
it
us.
like a Facebook page for your property.
Mm.
Where Facebook and Nextdoor meet. Because look, a big part of this also is you can move into a building. All of a sudden now you could start chatting with people in that building. You know how many times I moved to a condo and I was so happy, and then the next night I didn't get any sleep because I had noisy neighbors. It's happened several times in my life. And you're like, oh my God, I just moved in. I already, having issues with neighbors and dogs and, whatever that might be. It's a way to converse and meet people in the community. We're really trying to bring people together
Mm.
and put all of this under one roof. So yeah, it's something that's needed for sure. I mean, it's really a one-stop shop. You may come to Qwesty just because you need a handyman. You may not even be looking to sell real estate. You
Right.
just like a dating site, you're swiping through handymen, you're swiping through properties. There's a gaming, almost addictiveness to this as well, and it just becomes fun. You can be sitting at the pool, and you can make an offer in 60 seconds. We made it that easy.
Awesome, man. This really sounds amazing. It's gonna change so much about how we interact with our communities and how we are able to handle these assets. So I'm looking forward to the future for Qwesty. I think it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you bringing that information to us. I'd love to take this time to just allow you to tell us how we can reach out to you, how, if anybody's looking to invest, where they can find you, and any last words that you have.
Oh, great. And I appreciate the opportunity to plug us, right? So yeah, if you want to request a copy of our deck or take a look at our prototype, you can just go to qwesty.com, QWESTY.com. If you would like to also just invest a smaller amount, we are accepting investments on the WeFunder platform. If you go to own, that's OWN, Qwesty.com, you can see our WeFunder campaign. And it's been very successful in a very short amount of time, which is an excellent sign. We're very excited about the results we've seen on there. And just going through that platform, you own real shares in the company, and you can join us on our journey. I'm going to give my cell phone number. I typically don't do this, but if anybody's interested in talking about Qwesty, I'm here. It's 561-715-6105. Thank you.
Awesome. 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 I appreciate it. Thank you for joining today, Josh. And this has been a great episode of Assets and Algorithms.
Thanks, Derek, and good luck with your podcast.
Thank you.